Today on the Topping Show, Toyota patents a stick shift for EVs and gets an $850 million loan for EV battery technology research. Meta lowering the age requirements for VR users. DraftKings makes an offer for point bets. Megan Fox forces her boys to wear dresses. Garth Brooks gives an apology. Call of Duty bans Nick Merck again. LA Dodgers are now being protested by religious folks because of the drag queen performance. Bud Light locks YouTube comments. Fox punishes a worker who put up a banner calling Joe Biden a wannabe dictator. Elon Musk and DeSantis slammed the White House for saying that their kids are in fact theirs and not yours. And Spotify to drop Meghan and Harry. All that and much, much more on The Topping Show. Thank you for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of Topping Show is sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency in IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day. God say he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or business owner, need a little assistance, you can reach the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Now, other interesting news in the business world, you have Toyota filing patents for an EV with a stick shift. And the company, like many other companies, are trying to combat the overwhelmingly boringness of EV vehicles. And I know everyone on the planet will say you have, 100% torque, you have max torque at 0 RPM immediately. It's like a toy. Yes, it is like a toy. And I know the fastest car in the world will eventually be just a computer, which again, you don't really have to put any input into. Thanks to Dodge, they have the new Dodge Challenger 0 to 60 1.66 seconds. That car is actually faster than a Bugatti or a current current Tesla Model Plaid, which is the fastest one they make. But subsequently, I'm sure the newest car, the fastest car in the world, will be an EV, because again, it's just the technology. Now, that being said, pretty much these car companies are trying to figure out how do we differentiate ourselves when we all have electric motors, we all have batteries, we all go really fast right off the line. And Toyota, give them credit, it is a fascinating idea to try to emulate the stick shift. And they say it will have a third pedal. So in the patents, the third pedal is there. That being said, it's not going to actuate or actually have a clutch, or it's really, really unusual. Now, they went on to say that instead, a shifter would be connected to a series of sensors and a central computer programmed to mimic the feel of the car in a manual transmission. Since not all the cars with manual transmissions are the same, they'll have different engines and different transmissions with different number of gears, and the central computer would be programmed to imitate a specific sort of manual transmission in a car. Even weirdly enough, to completely experience, the driver will have a clutch pedal in addition to the usual brake and accelerator, and if they mess up, it will actually mimic stalling the car. Now, in a traditional 3-pedal vehicle, which every American should always take the time to go out of their way to learn. It's a fun experience in and of itself. But if you haven't had the opportunity, I'll simply explain. If you have an instance where you let the clutch go all the way and you don't push the accelerator all the way, you're going to have that big discrepancy of the speeds, and you'll cause the car to stall, which will stop and kill the engine. So that's how you stall a car. Now, it'll be interesting. So they're trying to mimic that, but again, the third pedal isn't going anywhere. It's a novel idea, and I appreciate them thinking outside the box. But part of me just thinks I would really respect companies more if they just push back on all these EPA regulations and push for carve-outs for sports, passionate vehicles. Like with the emission standards and the tailpipe standards, it's a de facto ban on pretty much all internal combustion engines, because the only way you can meet a fleet average, the average of the whole fleet from cars to trucks to SUVs, is to use EVs or maybe a nuclear-powered car, but no one wants to have that yet. But it'll be interesting to see how can they try to make it more exciting. So I do applaud Toyota. It is fascinating engineering. It might be an interesting novelty. And time shall tell. There's a lot of the automotive community. There's a lot of split between the 3 people who love EVs and all the other folks who really are passionate about cars that'll last 100 years because there's no batteries that go bad after like 3 years. But with internal combustion engines, there's many more variables and different things that make each different vehicle by different brands more unique and gives you a much more unique experience. Many of the purists, including myself, would say. And time shall tell to see if this is a positive venture and a fiscal benefit for Toyota as they try to differentiate themselves from the pack. Other interesting business news, Toyota again, they're getting an $850 million loan from Japan. Now, this is specifically from the Japan Ministry of Economic Trade and Industry, and it's going to be for the development of storage batteries for automotive. Now, Japan's been a little bit worried in terms of the global economy when it comes to EVs and automotives, because for pretty much all my lifetime, the most reliable car on the planet is a Toyota, which I would also argue because it's an internal combustion engine that can last 1,000,000 miles, which the current technology will have will not happen with an EV. Never. It's just the batteries, just like your smartphone. Right now, EV cars are just bigger smartphones. The batteries die, they degrade, and because of the cost of batteries, it's the most fiscally expensive part of the vehicle. It makes it prohibitive to actually replace the battery, just toss it out like an old smartphone. On the opposite side, you have the Toyota Corolla, the best-selling car in history by number of units sold. And those things are so overly engineered. The quality is so great. I know it's not a Ferrari or a Corvette. Well, Corvette with the stick shift, the new one. Yeah. But it serves a great place in the automotive community and also just giving people a reliable, economical way to get to work and live their lives and have a long return on investment that actually is a good thing. Now, that being said, Japan's been a little bit slower compared to the globe in terms of automotive, embracing the EV. I suspect partially because Toyota wants to be the most reliable car company on the planet. That can't happen with EVs with the current technology. Maybe they'll develop something better. That's partially probably what this is about. Now, they went on to say that by 2027, Toyota intends to have 2 next-gen batteries in production. The first is going to be a performance version, which uses the same NCM battery chemistry as its first EV, the BZFX, which I'm not a marketing genius. I know a little bit about what sells. I help my IT company with that regard. But that is the most boring, uninspiring name I could think of in years. I know BMW historically is one of the most known brands for using numbers and nomenclature as a tradition versus a traditional name like a Chevy Camaro that's a name for a car. BMW uses numbers like the Z4, and for Toyota to have the BZ4X, it's not very inspiring or memorable. It's even worse than the Toyota 86. That's easy. It's too, there's a certain beauty and simplicity, I understand, but a bizarre name in itself. But nevertheless, the other battery is going to be for 20% more range and 20% less cost, which is good. The key to EV technology long term, well, not only going to be a better, more sustainable actual ingredients for food, components. You need components and you need materials that are cheaper, more locally sourced, and have a better long-term value. Right now, lithium ion it's not prohibitive to get, it is costly to get, and it's also a pain in the ass to recycle. It is extremely volatile. It's quite explosive, literally and metaphorically, but it's very expensive, and very few companies specialize in the actual practice of safely recycling those batteries. Anecdotally speaking, my tech company can recycle a whole warehouse of servers, storage, networking gear. The most expensive thing or the most hazardous thing in terms of the chemicals, it'll be that box of smartphones. That'll be the most expensive thing to recycle. Everything else is a lot easier to recycle and a lot less hazardous. Even lead acid batteries, they're not as combustible and they're not as volatile as lithium ion. Lead acid batteries are nearly infinitely recyclable. That's how Interstate Batteries is actually a green company. I mean green actually physically because they make money, but they actually have a life cycle management for the batteries in which they will recycle the old ones and make new ones from them. It's a big part of their business. And we will get there eventually, but again, there are going to have to be technological breakthroughs, which may happen in our lifetimes, that will make lithium a little bit more easier to recycle. And you have some companies trying, and someday it might be fruitful, fiscally speaking, as well. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time today. I can't thank you enough for liking, subscribing, and commenting. Each one of your comments greatly help the channel grow and develop. A couple weeks ago, I had someone reach out on the chat or on the comments saying that I should use my laptop a little bit less and have more eye contact with the camera. And thanks to them, I utilize the monitors I have behind the camera, which I usually have for my, I say 9 to 5 job. I work way more hours than that. But now that makes me keep eye contact a little bit better with the screens because I have the screens behind the camera. So that helps a little bit out. So that's a really good example of the comments helping the channel grow and develop, and your feedback being greatly appreciated. So each one of those things greatly helps out. Also, sharing the channel helps out a lot as well. But I digress. Thank you so much again. Also, don't forget to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.